Leonardo's first love got upset and decided to auction off the necklace that symbolized their relationship. He left me alone at our engagement party and rushed to the auction house, where he bought the necklace back at an outrageous price. I announced the cancellation of our engagement and took off the ring he had just given me. The day I left, Leonardo's first love stopped me at the airport. I was just trying to spite him. I didn't mean to ruin your engagement. If you leave, Leonardo will blame me. Leonardo pulled her back. Let her go. She's just trying to copy you. Throwing a tantrum to get attention. No one will go looking for her. She'll crawl back in a few days. But I never went back. When Leonardo was losing his mind looking for me in City A, I was getting engaged to someone else. Chapter 1. Leonardo had stormed out of our engagement party, and no one could stop him. I stood there on the stage, dazed, with the ring he had just slipped onto my finger still on my hand. The guests started whispering. Some were mocking me, some were trying to smooth things over. Soon, reporters captured Leonardo at the auction house. He bought a sapphire necklace at twice the highest bid. Everyone sighed in relief. Oh, he just went to buy a gift for his fiancée. Could have at least told someone, thought he was running away. When he comes back with that necklace, she's going to be over the moon. But I stood alone in the side hall, staring at the media reports, unable to smile. That necklace was the token of love Leonardo once gave to his first love. I had seen it countless times. The first time I moved into Leonardo's house, the butler picked up the necklace outside the door. Leonardo saw it and rushed out immediately. He didn't come back until midnight, soaking wet and looking lost. But the necklace was gone, Leonardo said. I just went to return it to her. It was hers. After all, his first love had only dated him for 3 months before breaking up and marrying someone else. At the time, I didn't feel much. I thought that since they had broken up, one married, the other with a girlfriend, they should keep their distance. But that necklace kept showing up, more and more, and every time, Leonardo lost control. After the auction, Leonardo left in his car, speeding away, not in the direction of the engagement party. Strangely, that made me feel a little relieved. Over the years, Leonardo and I had fought countless times because of that necklace. The night before the engagement party, I lost it and threw the necklace out the window. It landed right in the lake outside. Leonardo shoved me aside and jumped in. He found it, pulled it out, and sat soaking wet on the shore. He carefully tucked the necklace into his pocket. He said, "Sophia, this is the last time, the very last time." That night, he held me and cried for a long time. I thought he had finally made up his mind that he would never let that necklace or its original owner interfere again. I had loved him for 3 years. I believed that with time, he would come to love me more and more. But the necklace came back again, like a blade hanging over my heart. It finally fell. Leonardo clearly forgot his promise. The voices that had been anticipating his return and the continuation of the engagement faded. Everyone looked at me with a mix of awkwardness and pity. I smoothed out the wrinkles in my dress, walked onto the stage, and announced the cancellation of our engagement. After all, my own friends and family were there too, even if it was a ridiculous relationship. It deserved a dignified ending. The party ended. The beautifully decorated venue had gone to waste, leaving behind nothing but a mess. I changed and was about to leave when Mrs. Koo stopped me. "Sophia, Leonardo is immature. When he gets back, I'll give him a proper scolding and make sure he apologizes to you." I pulled my hand away and took off the engagement ring. "Auntie, please return this to him for me. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other." We had been together for 3 years. I always thought that time would fade the memory of his 3-month relationship with his first love. But I was wrong. Every time that necklace reappeared, it was like a reminder. If I couldn't stop that necklace from showing up in front of Leonardo, then at least I could choose to walk away from him and never have to see that necklace again. Chapter 2. It was pouring the day I left City A. Late autumn had brought an extra chill in the air. I packed 2 full suitcases when I moved out of Leonardo's house. Dragging them down from the car, they splashed into a puddle, staining my coat with muddy rainwater. After checking in my luggage, I headed toward security. On the way, I saw a boy rushing forward with a cake in his hands. He called out to a girl who was just about to pass through the checkpoint. He opened the cake box, looking anxious and heartbroken. Have a bite before you go. I spent hours making it. I don't even know when I'll get to celebrate your birthday again, the girl cried as she ate. I tightened my grip on the plane ticket in my hand. So, when someone responds to love with genuine care, it really can move you to tears. The first time I celebrated Leonardo's birthday, I had baked a cake myself too. When I arrived at the private room, all his friends were already there. I placed the cake on the table, but Leonardo was in a bad mood that day. His phone kept ringing. Someone beside him said, "If you don't want to answer, block the number or turn off the phone. Who the hell keeps bothering you today of all days?" Leonardo just silently stared at the screen as it lit up again and again. Eventually, the calls stopped, replaced by message notifications. He didn't check them until the phone was about to die. Regina had prepared a birthday gift for him, and her husband found out. They had a fight. She got slapped. Leonardo flipped the table in front of him and stormed out of the room. He left behind a room full of stunned guests, and the cake I made, smashed on the floor. That was the day I realized how painful it is when your love is completely ignored. The girl finished the cake. The boy gently wiped away her tears and sent her through security. I turned to go in as well. Sophia. Maybe I'd just been thinking too much about Leonardo. How else could I be hearing his voice like a hallucination? I gave a bitter smile and continued toward the line. But the voice came again, more impatient this time. Sophia. This time I was sure someone really was calling me. I turned and immediately saw him, Leonardo, standing in the back. He stood out too much, even in a crowd. Beside him, Regina nudged him forward. Leonardo frowned at her, clearly annoyed, but still walked over to me. This was the first time I'd seen him since he left the engagement party. "Come back already. Stop making a scene." His tone was impatient, as if him walking out on our engagement party, leaving me to face all that humiliation alone. As if my calling off the engagement, returning the ring, and even leaving the city were all just a childish tantrum. "I already told your mom to pass on the message. We're done." Regina stood beside him, eyes flickering with guilt. "Sophia. I'm sorry. I was just trying to provoke him. I didn't mean to ruin your engagement. Please go back with Leonardo. Otherwise he'll blame me." Leonardo frowned. "Who said I'd blame you? You're the one who insisted on coming here." I thought I'd cry the moment I saw Leonardo again, but in that instant, all I felt was numbness as I watched the subtle intimacy in the way the two of them interacted. I gave a calm, relieved smile. The engagement's already ruined. From now on, when you two play your little love games, I won't be part of them anymore. With that, I turned and walked forward without looking back. Regina kept calling my name behind me, but Leonardo grabbed her arm. "Let her go. She's just trying to copy you. Throwing a fit. She'll come crawling back in a few days." Chapter 3. The moment my plane landed in City A and I turned on my phone, my aunt called. "Sophia, Marcel is already on his way to pick you up. Have you seen him yet?" I walked toward the baggage claim area. "Got it," I replied. "Can you send me his number? I don't see him. I'll give him a call." In my memory, Marcel was still that boy in a school uniform with a baby face. So many years had passed, chances are I wouldn't even recognize him if he were standing right in front of me. As soon as I hung up, my aunt sent over a string of numbers. Before I could even save the contact, a call came in. I looked at the screen. It was the same number she had just sent me. When I picked up, a warm, rich voice came through the line. "Sophia." I felt a soft tingle in my ears. It was the first time I realized that hearing your own name spoken could sound this nice. Maybe I paused too long in silence. Because he called again. "Sophia?" I quickly responded, and we agreed on a pickup spot. Once I hung up, I realized my heart had actually skipped a beat. No wonder the girls at work are obsessed with voice actors. Having someone with a nice voice talk in your ear really is a special kind of feeling. But usually, guys with great voices don't look all that great. Thinking back, Marcel wasn't bad looking when he was younger. Did he grow up oddly? I sighed. Guess boys really do change a lot over the years. I picked up my luggage and went to the spot where Marcel said he'd meet me, but I didn't see anyone. I glanced around, about to call, when I saw a tall figure walking toward me with a bouquet of flowers in hand. Tall and well-built, with striking features, his looks drew plenty of attention from others waiting in the arrivals hall. I wasn't immune either. I stared for a second too long. Then he stopped right in front of me, handing me the flowers. I was too stunned to react. I stared at the bouquet for a few seconds before I found my voice. Marcel? You don't recognize me anymore? We stared at each other, the awkwardness and surprise written all over our faces. Finally, we both laughed. In my memory, you were only this tall. I gestured with my hand. He hadn't even reached my height back then. Who would have thought he'd grow into this? Marcel took my suitcase from me. I saw others holding flowers at the arrivals gate, so I figured I'd get you some too. Welcome back. I gave him a friendly pat on the shoulder. Thanks. Only after saying it did I remember we hadn't seen each other in years, and we weren't as close as we once were. Marcel froze a little too. The whole ride to my mom's old house was filled with a weird, quiet tension. It wasn't until the car pulled up to the building that Marcel finally spoke again. Auntie had someone come clean the place a few days ago. If you need anything, just let me know. If living here's not convenient, you can always stay at the Lynn residence. The house my mother left behind was already decades old. After my aunt remarried, no one lived there anymore. Still, I wanted to stay, whether it was when Mom was still alive, or during those years when it was just my aunt and me. This house was always the place that made me feel the warmest. I waved a hand. I'll stay here. No need to bother you. And even if I didn't stay here, I wouldn't crash at your place. Marcel gave me a look but didn't argue. He carried both my heavy suitcases up the stairs, watching him lift one in each hand with ease. I finally understood why my aunt insisted he come pick me up. With 5 flights and no elevator, there was no way I could have carried those bags on my own. Marcel glanced around at the old furnishings as we entered, and before leaving, he reminded me, I had them replace the door with a new one. If anything comes up, just give me a call. I nodded, thanked him again, and closed the door. The moment I stepped in, I was surrounded by the familiar, comforting atmosphere even if everything inside was old. My aunt and I had agreed not to change anything in the house. Back then, we never thought we'd be living here again. I went into the bedroom and looked at the small bed. When Mom had just passed away, my aunt used to sit by that bed and coax me to sleep every single night. I sat down, and the bed let out a loud creak. Startled, I immediately jumped up, afraid I might break it. When I checked my phone, I saw that my aunt had sent a long list of reminders. Sleep in my room. Don't break your own bed. Have your clothes ready before showering. The water cuts off randomly. The kitchen wiring's unstable. Don't use appliances while washing vegetables. Lock the door at night. I fell silent for a moment. After I left for college, my aunt must have lived here so cautiously, so carefully. Lying in bed that night, I realized something. Not once during the entire day had I thought about Leonardo. Turns out, changing your environment really was the right choice. Chapter 4. I finished unpacking everything I brought with me, even though I hadn't been back here in years, and the streets looked nothing like I remembered. I quickly found my rhythm again. By evening, Marcel's car pulled up right on time. I had promised my aunt I'd go to her place for dinner today. As the car drove through a residential neighborhood filled with villas, I looked out the window, then turned to Marcel. Auntie really married into money. Huh? Marcel raised an eyebrow. She married into the Lynn family. I blinked in surprise. So right now we're going. Marcel chuckled. We're going back to the Lynn estate. Just as he finished speaking, my phone started ringing. It was Leonardo. I didn't answer. I hung up right away. Leonardo stared at his phone, stunned that the call had been cut off. He smirked. Sophia's attitude really had gotten worse lately. He hadn't even wanted to call her. He had just returned to the old Coup family estate when his mother dragged him out onto the balcony. You've been so busy with work. It was always Sophia who came by to keep us company. She even taught me how to plant all these pretty flowers. Look, they're wilting without her. Today you have to bring her back. She only left after watching him make the call. Who would have thought Sophia would actually dare hang up on him? In a flash of irritation, he kicked over one of the blooming flower pots by his feet. If the flowers were going to wilt, they might as well all wilt. When Sophia saw that, She'd definitely cry. These flowers needed Sophia. His mother needed Sophia. Even that one night he came home drunk, and a friend helped him into the house. He had insisted on having hangover soup. The friend fumbled around the kitchen, muttering, "Usually your fiancé makes this stuff when you're drunk. I've got no idea how. Maybe call her, get her back here?" Leonardo had thrown the guy out and passed out on the couch alone. The one who couldn't let go was probably him, but he wasn't going to spoil her by going to coax her back. Once she came to her senses and realized that all her tantrums didn't work, she'd come back on her own. Sophia wasn't like Regina. Regina always needed comforting. But Sophia? She liked him. She always calmed herself down in the end. By the time we arrived at the Lynn estate, my aunt was already waiting outside for us. The moment I opened the car door, she grabbed my hand, her eyes glistening with tears. "Sophia, you've suffered enough. From now on, you're staying with me. I'd like to see who dares bully you again." My eyes grew misty too. It had been so long since I felt the security of having family by my side. If I hadn't gotten together with Leonardo during college, I probably would have moved back to City A as soon as I graduated. Let's not just stand around. Sophia's staying the night. She's barely been here, and I've missed her every single day. The man standing behind my aunt finally spoke. My aunt looked slightly embarrassed as she introduced him to me. "This is your uncle. You've actually met before." I thought hard for a moment, and then it clicked. He used to come next door to find Marcel all the time. We'd passed each other in the hallway a few times. I smiled and greeted him, and we all headed into the villa together. It was a family dinner at the Lynn estate tonight, so even those who were usually out made it home. It was my first time here, and I felt a little out of place, out of habit. I got up and tried to help in the kitchen, but my uncle gently pushed me back onto the sofa. "Treat this like your home. If there's anything you want to eat, just tell your aunt. She'll have the kitchen make it. No need for you to lift a finger." For a second, I was disoriented, then I remembered this wasn't the Coup house. The first time Leonardo brought me to the Coup residence, I'd offered to help in the kitchen to ease my nerves. After that, every time I visited, I was always the one rushing around doing things. Leonardo had grown used to being taken care of. In the end, me caring for him became the norm. I smiled and nodded, then suddenly felt something being pushed into my hands, a pomegranate. "Big sister, this is for you." I looked down. A little girl, just about knee-high, stood there with her big, twinkling eyes locked not on me, but on the fruit. Even though she was talking to me, her gaze never left the pomegranate. I glanced around and spotted a fruit knife nearby. Just as I reached for it, a slender hand beat me to it. "This little rascal wants to eat pomegranate but looks for someone else to peel it." The hand took the pomegranate from me, too. Marcel made a few quick cuts, tapped it gently, and soon had a bowl of gleaming, ruby red seeds ready. He scooped out a portion for the little girl, who squealed in delight and ran off. Then he handed the rest of the bowl back to me. "Your pomegranate." Returned. I looked at the peeled fruit in my hands and couldn't help but smile. Just as Marcel turned to leave, I called him back and held the bowl out toward him. "Let's share it." Chapter 5. Marcel and I sat on the steps in the garden, sharing a bowl of pomegranate seeds. He leaned back on his hands, gazing up at the sky, his voice carrying a hint of childlike joy. Food always tastes better when you share it. I turned to look at his profile, so well-defined now, yet slowly merging with the face from my memories. Back when we lived in the old apartment complex, Marcel's mom was a great cook. She used to make all kinds of delicious food for him. Marcel would always bring out a bowl and share it with me. Later, when his mom fell seriously ill, no one was there to cook for us anymore, so my aunt started having Marcel over for dinner every day. Now, all these years later, he was back with the Lynn family, a proper young master of the house. I'd assumed he wouldn't want to bring up the less glamorous parts of his past. When I first started dating Leonardo, I had just finished a long-distance race at the school sports meet. I was so exhausted, I collapsed onto the stadium steps. Leonardo had frowned at me. "The ground is filthy. Can't you be a little more clean?" I'd turned bright red, suddenly feeling like the ground beneath me was scorching hot. I scrambled to my feet and only sat down again once we reached the bleachers. Later, I overheard from one of his friends that Leonardo's first love had mild OCD. She loved wearing white dresses, and hers were always spotless. She would never, ever sit on the ground like I did. Thinking back now, Leonardo and I were never really from the same world. His life had been smooth sailing. The only real setback he'd experienced was getting dumped by his first love. I, on the other hand, had clawed my way through every step of life. My proudest moment was probably getting into a good university. And then I met Leonardo in college, and we got together, two people who probably never should have crossed paths in the first place. Looking back, it's clear we could cross paths, but we were never meant to walk the same road. We finished the pomegranate just as one of the housekeepers came to call us for dinner. At the dinner table, my aunt kept filling my plate. Eat more. Now that you're back, I have to fatten you up. Otherwise, your mom's going to blame me. I rubbed my already full stomach, a bit overwhelmed. She had always been like this when we ate together. After I went away for college, I lost a lot of weight, couldn't get used to the food. Back when I visited the Koo family, Leonardo's mother would also always pile food into my bowl. I used to think it was sweet and warm, that the Koo family really cared about me. But now I remembered her exact words every time. Eat more. You're so skinny. If you marry Leonardo and have babies, you're going to suffer. At the time, I thought it was just kindness. Now I realized it was something else. Someone at the table, Marcel's second uncle's son, suddenly brought up Leonardo Koo. I froze. My chopsticks suspended midair. That Koo family heir from City C, he ditched his own engagement party to go bid on some necklace. Got dumped by his fiancée. He's practically the laughingstock of City C these days. At the head of the table, old Master Lynn snorted coldly. If you ever pull something that stupid, don't bother coming back to the Lynn family. I'll have your father throw you out. The second uncle's son chuckled awkwardly. Grandpa, I wouldn't dare. Beneath the table, my aunt reached over and gently squeezed my hand. They didn't know, the fiancé who got left behind at that engagement party was me. Thankfully, the topic passed quickly. No one probed further. After all, City C wasn't close. They just treated it like juicy gossip. After dinner, my aunt pulled me aside. It's still early. Go out with Marcel for a bit. Get some fresh air. Don't take what happened tonight to heart. This isn't City C. No one here's going to bring him up again in front of you. I could tell she was worried about me, but I wasn't as fragile as she thought. I was about to say no when I saw Marcel walking out from inside. He draped his jacket over my shoulders. Put it on. It gets cold in the mountains at night. To ease my aunt's concern, I followed Marcel out. The car drove steadily uphill, and the air grew colder with every turn. Thankfully, I had Marcel's jacket. The wind rushed past us in bursts, and Marcel's voice came through it, slightly muffled by the sound. Sophia, did you forget something? Chapter 6. I looked at him in confusion. The car came to a sudden stop by the side of the road. He turned to me. I brought you out to clear your head. If we want to make it to the top, we don't have much time. The moment he said that, my memories pulled me back in time. Back then, whenever I didn't do well on an exam, Marcel would ride his bike like a rocket on the way home. He used to tell me, if you shout your worries into the wind will carry them away. I'd cling tightly to the back of his jacket and yell into the breeze, next time I'll get first place again. The car started moving again. This time, I shouted into the wind, I'll never love Leonardo again. This time, I hoped the wind would carry Leonardo out of my world once and for all. We arrived at the mountain top. Below us, the city lights stretched endlessly, sparkling like a sea of stars. Overhead, the night sky was dotted with real stars, flickering quietly. Marcel stood beside me, his voice low and steady. When my mom passed away, you told me that she and your mom would become stars in the sky, always watching over us, and we're just one of the thousands of lights below. Even if it goes dark tonight, it'll shine again tomorrow. Even your family's light, the one that's been off for so many years, has lit up again. I waited, and it finally came back. So there's nothing you can't get through. If you loved the wrong person, just choose someone else to love. You're back now. And there are so many people who will love you. His expression was sincere. In his eyes, the thousands of twinkling lights below seemed to reflect like stardust. We stayed there for a long time, reminiscing about our childhood, but Marcel never once mentioned how he ended up back with the Lynn family after I left. Just before our college admission letters arrived, his mom had passed away. That must have been the hardest time for him. Then I left for university in City C, and we gradually lost contact. All I knew from my aunt was that Marcel had returned to the Lynn household. I thought we'd never cross paths again. Yet here we were, sitting together once more, sharing old memories. One by one, the lights in the city below began to go dark. Marcel finally turned the car around and drove us back down the mountain. At my aunt's insistence, I stayed at the Lynn estate for a few more days. It was obvious she was genuinely happy now. Her husband treated her well, and the Lynn family elders clearly liked her too. When she was younger, she made a mistake marrying the wrong man. That first marriage barely lasted 6 months. After that, she moved in and lived with us. After my mom passed away, she became the one who took care of me, all on her own. She used to joke all the time, saying we'd grow old together, just the two of us, relying on each other forever. But I knew, deep down, she'd lost faith in men. She didn't want to open her heart again. It must have taken real effort on her new husband's part to break through her walls and bring her home. And I'm truly glad she met someone like that. Chapter 7. After returning from the Lynn estate, I started looking for a job. The interviews went smoothly. I'd be able to start in a week. Life was getting back on track. And I suddenly remembered the simple dream I had back in high school: to study hard, get a decent job after graduation, and give my aunt a better life. Now I realized I had already achieved that dream. Because of my aunt's constant reminders, Marcel often came to check on me. Sometimes he'd take me to try out a newly opened restaurant. Other times, he'd drive me back to the Lynn estate to visit my aunt. That evening, it started to rain after work. It had only been a light drizzle when I left the office. But by the time I got downstairs in the elevator, the rain was pouring. A colleague hiding from the rain next to me waved. "You're never getting a ride in this weather. Better call your boyfriend to pick you up." I smiled, just about to correct her, when Marcel's car pulled up and stopped right in front of me. My colleague nudged me with a grin. "Looks like you didn't need to call." He showed up on his own. Marcel stepped out with an umbrella, saw it was raining, figured I'd swing by and give you a lift. When we got home, I flipped the light switch, but the apartment stayed pitch black. Looked like a power outage. I was about to grab a bag and head to a nearby hotel for the night. But the moment I opened the door, Marcel was already standing there, hand raised to knock. He peeked inside. I noticed none of the lights were on in the whole building, thought it might be a blackout. So I came up to check. In the end, I never made it to the hotel. Marcel took me back to the Lynn estate. As soon as we pulled in, the housekeeper came out to greet us, smiling when he saw Marcel. Young Master Marcel's been dropping by the old house more and more these days. The old master was just saying this morning how he wished you'd bring Sophia over. My aunt wasn't at the estate today, so the villa felt a little empty. The old master waved when he saw me. "Come here, girl. Let Grandpa see if you've caught a chill." I glanced over at Marcel, who was being completely ignored, and walked over with a laugh. It was easy to see that my aunt had a great relationship with the Lynn family. They cared for me simply because they cared for her. The old master held my hand warmly and ordered someone to make me ginger tea. I gently reminded the servant, "Make 2. When Marcel had come upstairs earlier to check on me, I'd seen he was soaked in places. He probably needed the tea more than I did. The old man glanced at Marcel, then patted my hand again. "Soft-hearted, aren't you? No wonder this rascal says you're always so good to him." I looked at Marcel and raised my brows in surprise. So he'd been praising me behind my back? After tea, we stayed to have dinner with the old master. The rain outside kept getting heavier. It thudded against the windows, sounding almost threatening. That's when I got a message from a friend. "That woman got divorced. Is she really going to end up with Leonardo now?" Attached was a video. Someone had dug up the story behind that necklace again. News of Leonardo's obsession with his first love was everywhere. And now, someone had spotted him at a law firm, accompanying Regina to consult about divorce. When reporters asked about our broken engagement, he frowned. "She's just throwing a tantrum. Once she calms down, we'll reschedule the engagement. We'll let the media know." When they asked about Regina, he just smiled. She's an old friend. She's having some issues in her marriage. I'm just helping." Outside, the storm raged louder and louder, but in my heart, everything was perfectly still. I guess that's what it means to truly let go of someone, when nothing they do can stir the slightest wave inside you anymore. Even if they announced their marriage tomorrow, I'd probably just laugh it off. That night, Marcel came knocking several times. By the time he stopped, my desk was overflowing with fruit, cake, and late-night snacks. I finally had to pull him in to help me finish it all. As we were leaving the Lynn estate together, the old master stood on the steps, watching us. He patted Marcel's shoulder with a smile. "Make her part of the family soon. Then you two can come back together to visit this old man." Marcel turned to me with a grin. "Next time, for sure." Chapter 8. Marcel dropped me off in front of my office. I hesitated for a moment, then finally spoke before getting out. "Are you free tonight? Let's have dinner." Surprise flickered across his face, but it quickly melted into a smile. "You're the one asking, any time works for me." Seeing his smile, I blushed and practically ran away. Last night, when Marcel came into my room, he saw the video still playing on my phone. He tapped the screen to turn it off, then looked at me and said, "Sophia, that guy you dated? He's not it. Want to try me instead?" I didn't answer him then, but lying in bed afterward, I couldn't stop replaying the look on his face when he said that. I kept asking myself again and again, and finally realized I did want that. Regina's divorce case went smoothly. Leonardo had hired the best lawyer in City C for her. Regina even threw a party to celebrate her return to singlehood. Leonardo was among the invited guests. Midway through the party, one of Regina's friends asked teasingly, "You're both single now. When are you two getting together?" Regina glanced over at Leonardo, who was sitting alone in a corner, and said shyly, "Stop it. Leonardo still has a fiancé." She thought he'd laugh it off. He'd never taken his engagement seriously anyway. But this time, Leonardo didn't say a word. He just held his phone tightly, downing one drink after another. For a moment, the party's lively atmosphere seemed to freeze. Regina set her drink down and sat beside him, voice soft. "Leonardo, are you not happy that I'm divorced now?" Leonardo looked at the woman beside him through bleary eyes. Was he supposed to be happy? Regina marrying someone else had always been a thorn in his heart. Now that thorn was gone, yet he just felt hollow, especially after seeing the photo a friend sent him earlier that day. Sophia was sitting in a cake shop with another man. She was smiling, radiant, while the man beside her looked at her with pure affection. That smile on Sophia's face, and the way that man looked at her, felt like daggers to Leonardo's eyes. That was his fiancée. Why was someone else allowed to look at her like that? A friend asked him, "You and Sophia, are you both really moving on now?" Only then did Leonardo realize he hadn't even thought about starting something new. In fact, he'd been stupidly waiting for Sophia to come back. But she never did, and he'd been so wrapped up helping Regina with her divorce. He'd almost forgotten Sophia had been gone for nearly 3 months. Leonardo downed the last of his drink. He grabbed his coat and muttered, "I'm leaving." He ignored Regina's calls to stay, pushed the door open, and stumbled out, his steps fast, almost desperate, like if he waited a moment longer, something would slip out of his grasp forever. A few days ago, Marcel proposed to me, right in front of the entire Lynn family, and of course, my aunt was there too. She was the first to cry, holding Marcel's hand tightly. She told him to take good care of me. Marcel looked her straight in the eye. "If I don't treat her right, let Grandpa throw me out of the Lynn family." He had secretly planned this engagement party for 2 whole weeks. As I sat in the car on the way to the venue, I glanced out the window. In the car beside ours, a familiar profile passed by through a half-open window. I quickly turned away and rolled up the window. Leonardo, sensing something, turned his head toward the car beside him, but all he saw was the darkened glass. He pressed his temples, annoyed. He should have come to City A earlier with Sophia to visit her aunt, but work kept him tied up, and he never made it over. Now, he didn't even know where she was living. He was running around like a headless chicken, hoping to bump into her. He called his assistant again. "Get more people on this. I want every lead followed." Frustrated, he asked the driver to pull over so he could get some air. As soon as he stepped out, he spotted someone ahead, someone whose silhouette looked exactly like Sophia's. He didn't even shut the car door before sprinting toward her. He finally caught up near the intersection and called out. The person turned around, confused. It wasn't her. Disappointment hit him like a wave. Why hadn't he tried harder to get to know Sophia? She had vanished from his life so cleanly. It was like she'd never been part of it at all. He turned around, heart sinking, but then he saw it. Across the street, right in front of a hotel, stood a woman in an elegant gown. Her back, her posture, it was unmistakable. It was Sophia. He shook his head. You're losing it, he told himself. You've been seeing her in everyone these days. But then his eyes landed on the large digital screen above the hotel. And this time, he couldn't look away. It really was Sophia. But why? Why was it an engagement party? How could she be engaged to someone else? Across the traffic, he watched her link arms with the man who came out to greet her. The man gently tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. She smiled at him, warm and tender. At that moment, Leonardo realized, even though only a road separated them, it felt like they were living in two completely different worlds. And he was the one standing outside. Chapter 9. He watched with his own eyes as the two walked into the hotel. Hand in hand, their figures disappearing beyond the entrance. Like a man possessed, he dashed across the road. But as soon as he reached the hotel doors, he came to a sudden stop, staring blankly at the engagement poster at the entrance. What was he going to do if he went inside? What could he say? What could he do? Even without opening his mouth, he already knew. Sophia wouldn't leave with him. The way that man looked at her, focused, full of love, wasn't something he could compete with. A hotel attendant smiled politely at him. Sir, do you have an invitation? He instinctively took 2 steps back. Then, in a daze, he turned and left. After the engagement party ended, a hotel staff member brought me a small gift box. A gentleman without an invitation asked me to give this to you. I opened the box. Inside was a diamond ring and a letter. Glancing at the signature at the bottom, I already knew. The man I saw on the road earlier was Leonardo. Marcel wrapped an arm around my shoulders, glanced at the letter, and gave a short, mocking laugh. Why is he always interested in someone else's wife? I put the letter back in the box, gave the attendant an address, and asked him to send it there. Then I turned, slipped my arm through Marcel's, and smiled. Everyone around me now loves me. Leonardo is already part of the past. Leonardo stayed in City A, convinced that once Sophia saw the box, she'd at least give him a call, even if it was to reject him. He wanted to hear her voice, but he waited 3 days, and no call ever came. Finally, the Koo family's butler called and said a package had arrived at the old estate, addressed to him. After hearing the butler describe it, Leonardo lowered his head, defeated. Did Sophia hate him this much now? She couldn't even be bothered to call him herself. He booked a flight and returned to City C. Koo's mother called often, asking when he was going to bring Sophia back. He always gave the same answer. She's just mad. She'll come back when she cools off. 2 more months passed, and finally, Koo's mother began to sense something was wrong. Under her relentless questioning, Leonardo could no longer keep up the lie. He told her the truth. Sophia was engaged to someone else. Koo's mother left in disappointment. Leonardo sat in his office, surrounded by files and papers, suddenly unable to remember what he was even supposed to be doing. His secretary knocked softly on the door, saying Regina had come to see him again. He swept everything off his desk in a flash of frustration. Tell her I'm not here. But before the words had fully left his mouth, Regina had already pushed the door open. Leonardo, I divorced for you, and now you're telling me you won't marry me? He frowned, staring at her. I never said I would marry you, and you said it yourself. I have a fiancé. Regina's voice went shrill. You don't have a fiancé anymore. The engagement was cancelled. Or did you forget? That was when he saw it for the first time. Regina wasn't as graceful or composed as he'd always remembered. It seemed like everyone around him was taking turns reminding him, Sophia is no longer your fiancé. He had someone escort Regina out and told his assistant she was never to set foot in the company again. He had never imagined Sophia would really leave, but watching her with that man that day, he finally understood. Once Sophia left him, there would always be men out there who would treat her better than he ever did. But he couldn't accept it. She had been this close to becoming his wife. And yet, he was the one who ruined it with his own hands. And now? Now she was gone, and he would never get her back.